Hello everyone and welcome to today's Div A cast of Between Team Training Wheels and Into Deep. I'm your caster Deadlat for tonight. It should be interesting as both teams coming off very close matches in week number 1, with Team Training Wheels falling 2-1 versus Team Rewind, and Into Deep falling 2-1 against Regen Ghosts. So both these times looking to get on the win column for this week. As we quickly take a look now to the maps that were chosen, Into Deep won the coin flip and decided to get first pick in in game number 1. And Into Deep ended up banning out Battlefield of Eternity and Cursed Hollow, while Team Training Wheels banned Tomb of the Spider Queen and Sky Temple, and ended up choosing Towers of Doom for game number 1. So, both teams likely going to be looking for more of a macro heavy strategy, especially when we look in the bot lane and how they manage the siege camp down there. But looks like the teams are ready, so we will be getting right into the draft. Oh. Now looking at some of the stats so far of these teams, looks like in their first match, Team Training Wheels went for a comp involving Probius their first time around on Towers of Doom. Ended up playing him in 2 of their 3 games. Interesting pick that will likely make it through the ban phase if Into Deep hasn't checked. Meanwhile, Into Deep, although they haven't played Towers last time, Malthael was very prevalent in their games as well as Murden, so maybe look for those heroes to be making an appearance in game number 1. As we see, Anubrak banned out first by Into Deep. Pretty standard just with how strong he is. He has 100% participation in most divisions, high and low, so if you don't want to play him, it's easy just to ban out Anubrak in today's meta. Meanwhile, Stukov actually being banned first by Team Training Wheels. He was played in one of in Into Deep's matches or games in which they won. So perhaps that was the difference maker in their first game. Meanwhile, Ana being taken away from Team Training Wheels, which even though they didn't necessarily play it in their first match, Ana was someone that they did play a little bit last season. As Medivh taken away as another hero that Into Deep utilized in game number 1, but they immediately pick up a Maiev, one of the stronger assassins, and then the response of Andu and Johanna. So getting a little bit of a beefier start on one side. Meanwhile, Maiev, though, going to be happy to have the Anduin as a target to be getting some knives. So it should be interesting to see how Grizzly does if he or she is able to get some consistent knife resets. Then Malthael come in for the soul lane pick as well as ETC. So Malthael was very much an expected pick. Meanwhile, ETC was not utilized in Into Deep's last match. So it should be interesting to see how they utilize him. We'll definitely force Team Training Wheels here in the second half of the draft to make sure they draft some more interrupts for Mosh Pit. Now, for their third ban, Team Training Wheels going to ban out Li Ming. Kind of interesting third ban. Li Ming not played by Into Deep in their first match this year. So I don't know why they'd be scared of Li Ming, unless perhaps if you dig deeper on the player profiles of Bacon and Loxley, one of the two perhaps plays Li Ming a lot. Meanwhile, Into Deep's third ban is going to be Raynor, just to get the consistent damage dealer off the board. Raynor was played twice last match by Team Training Wheels. So again, just getting one of the 2 assassins out of the way, and that means they're not scared of the Probius, especially because a lot of their bans have kind of been a little meta with the Raynor ban. And it looks like they're not going to be going the way of the probe this time around, unless he ends up getting played in the off lane. In fact, very much might be a pickup by Ramen here. But Jaina Lunar instead going to be the picks. In order to really put a lot of pressure onto Key on that ETC, just with the amount of damage you could put onto one of the more fragile main tanks in the game. Then Lieutenant Morales Gul'dan, interesting Morales pick by Into Deep. Just because Morales doesn't really see that much play nowadays. But when you look at the enemy team on the side Team Training Wheels, they don't have the dive really to be putting a ton of pressure onto Morales. You're basically going to have them go through Key first in order to get to the Morales. So definitely Key will have the support in order to stay strong. And meanwhile, Sonya going to be the offlaner on the side of Team Training Wheels this time around. So it should be interesting to watch the Malthael versus Sonya matchup here early on. But looking at the two drafts, I think I prefer the one of Team Training Wheels, but that's just because it's more conventional and definitely a much safer one to say I prefer. Because I'll be excited to see what they'll be able to do on Into Deep with not only how much of an impact Malthael will be able to bring to this game, but also to see how they utilize Morales. The one problem Morales has is that she's paired with Maiev, which means that you have to be mindful of that when your Maiev is diving in. When you commit as Maiev, you won't necessarily have as much support as you'll be forcing your Morales to really be diving in with you, potentially making Morales vulnerable. As I already noted, Team Training Wheels doesn't really have any dive to be forcing the issue onto the Morales. But if Morales comes to them, that might be the golden opportunity to get the kill. But here we go for game number 1 in the series for Into Deep. It will be Key on the ETC, Grizzly on the Maiev, Rosai on the Malthael, Bacon on the Morales, and Loxley on the Gul'dan. Meanwhile, for Team Training Wheels, it will be Ramen on the Sonya, Confused on the Jaina, Furiasia on the Lunara, Ryuken on the Johanna, and Anduin, Taco Cat on Anduin. I don't know why I went out of order on that last one. But we are off here. Both teams starting off in the mid lane. As we look at the talents real quick, we see pretty conventional talents. On a Pale Horse signifies that they might be utilizing Malthael in order to double soak and put 4 people in the bot lane. So interesting to see how Into Deep eventually splits up. As Malthael does immediately head to that top lane, we see Confused and Ryuken quickly bursting down the mid lane minions as they head down with the 3 members of Team Training Wheels here. Meanwhile, leaving Lunara in that mid lane to have to contest against the double soaking Malthael. Key going on to Confused, but Grizzly and Loxley not stepping up with ETC, so we'll just back off for now. As looks like Confused and Ryoken kind of faking the rotation potentially to the mid lane, as the 4-man actually does rotate back into the mid lane in order to give Malthael some respite. Especially when you look at this top lane, Ramen is pretty aggressively positioned and has been pushing out this top lane, so potentially Rosai called for the rotation here. As now we see the aggressive rotation in by Into Deep as Key goes on to Confused, forces Taco Cat to have to use the pull in order to save Confused for now, and Ryuken force off the point. Nice job by Bacon and Key body blocking Ryuken off to make sure that Johanna couldn't just sit on that point, allowing for the early steal here for Into Deep. That will give them almost that bottom tower with just how early the sappers are. But they will lose a little bit of XP here in the mid lane as Furiasia did just stay here. And in fact, we actually see Ramen rotating down because of how fast Sonya has been able to clear it in that top lane. Meanwhile, Into Deep starting on their own and finishing off their siege camp. Too late of a rotation in from Team Training Wheels, as now pressure being put onto Ryuken actually, forced to pop the trait. As now the teams start to poke back out. Slight XP lead so far for Team Training Wheels, but that will not too much to be concerned quite yet for Into Deep. Especially now that 4 is being picked up with that Soul Rip talent for Malthael, means that gives a large power boost for Malthael in that top lane. Meanwhile, a lot of pressure being put onto Ryuken, forced to pop the trait to barely escape. And so it will be only one Sapper, however, being able to get escorted in from Into Deep. But that does allow for them to finish off that tower. Now the rotation coming in for Furiasia. Key trying to catch up to the Lunara. A nice juke there from Furiasia. But however, because it forced Lunara to go up, I think that might, no. Able to get the escape. So nice job there to avoid the pick right before the altar phase. Not only that, but it puts Into Deep running and sprinting into the mid in order to potentially put up a fight for this mid tower. Meanwhile, just Malthael capping in the top lane. Wow, it's a 4v3 here in favor of Into Deep. The pressure being put yet again onto Ryuken, forcing for Unstoppable and the pull to be used. And now pressure being returned onto Key as they try to get the poke. Ramen actually spearing in. Can any damage really be done? No. Grizzly now putting pressure on Furiasia and Taco Cat, as Furiasia going very low here to Rosai's chase, but able to get out. Confused now going low, will get finished off there by Grizzly. Ryuken, however, able to escape with Johanna's life. Loxley just trying to zone out, but is very low here. Can Team Training Wheels get any poke? It doesn't appear so. So that will be a nice 4-shot advantage early on for Into Deep. Now the 4-man is all in the bot lane here as they try to get even more siege pressure here into the bot lane. Ryuken trying to step up here, put some pressure onto Bacon, but not able to do so, and just takes a ton of damage in return. Meanwhile, Siege Camp is back up for Team Training Wheels. They're kind of poking around it, but with the amount of siege pressure, that forces for them to have to peel off for now. Malthael is in the mid lane, so Into Deep looking to potentially go for yet another invade, as Confused does start the Siege Camp. Key kind of waiting around, seeing if it is, but it is just a bait on the side of Team Training Wheels. So Into Deep just going to back off and play it safe with Grizzly, taking their Sapper Camp now. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Ramen trying to put some pressure now with Rosai in order to try to prevent the double soak from coming through. And now here we go. Here comes the invade yet again from Key, trying to threaten it. Wisp does spot them out yet again, and that will force for them just to back off, especially as they see no progress being done. Instead, they're going to actually try to go on to Ramen, who rotated down with the threat of the invade, as Ramen going on to Bacon. Can they get the kill? Yes, Ramen does finish off Morales. So a nice turnaround there from Ramen to turn the potential pick situation into the kill onto the Morales, which will not only allow for Confused to easily pick up their Sapper Camp now that there's not really any threat of an invade, but will also allow for Ryuken and Taco Cat to clear the Sapper Camp in the bot lane. Now Ramen, though, has to be careful as the members of Into Deep were kind of lurking around in this mid lane. And however, they will be late to rotate to this bot altar. Taco Cat immediately starting the cap. Grizzly will be forced to use the shade early and thus will go down without having that teleport option. Now Key trying to go in and punish Ramen, but Ramen just immediately spears right in, trying to put some damage onto Key. Yet again, Taco Cat again beginning the channel and will be able to finish it off this time. Ryuken again trying to look for the pressure onto Key, but not able to find enough, so they will just split back onto their lanes. Rosai just letting this mid lane crash, as in the top lane already. Got the advantage of a little bit of push from the minions, just natural random push. And now Rosai actually kind of threatening in the mid lane now of a potential rotation if they want to. Instead, it's going to be the rest of his team rotating up. But nothing going to be had for it, as both teams kind of playing a little bit conservatively. Not really willing to step up for the pick, especially now that Team Training Wheels gets their ult. It will be a Blessed Shield for Johanna. I don't know Anduin's icon off the top of my head quite yet. Light Bomb for Anduin, Wrath for Sonya, Leaping Strike for Lunara, and Water Ellie for Jaina. Here if Into Deep now pulling back as they try to soak for their ults. Team Training Wheels just trying to rotate around and see if they can get the initiation. In fact, it's Rosai in the top lane able to, I believe, just sneak that top Sapper camp, or potentially it could be Ramen not wanting to take the fight quite yet against that Malthael, as now the ults do come in for Into Deep. It will be, is that Reaper's Mark? No, it is Last Rites for Malthael. Stim Drone for Lieutenant Morales. 4 or 5 for Gul'dan. Cage for Maiev. And it will be Mosh Pit for ETC. Slide coming in from Key, looking for the engage onto Taco Cat as Light Bomb is used, able to hit both Key and Grizzly. The cage going out, but not really able to do too much. Pressure being put on Ryuken. Last Right's not able to quite do enough to finish it off. The dance does come through, but there's no damage to really follow up onto it, onto Taco Cat and Confused, who are relatively healthy. Ramen now trying to get the finish off onto Bacon, and Loxley will be able to kill the Morales successfully. But Ryuken can't really provide that front line yet. Ramen goes really deep, but the pull is there for Taco Cat. As a nice pickoff early puts Into Deep at a disadvantage for the rest of this Shrine phase, or Tower phase. Both teams now trying to tap up before they go in. A nice route there from Taco Cat, catches Grizzly, but the damage doesn't quite go yet. Now it does, but it will be Johanna who ends up going down. But along with that, Grizzly and Gul'dan do go down as well. So it will, looks like Team Training Wheels will be able to get away from this fight. No, but Jaina ends up going down. Ramen trying to go deep, get the finish onto Kia Rosai, but Bacon is back and has the heals to make sure that Key and Rosai stay up. But even though they are able to stay alive for now, Furiosia is going to be able to get the channel in order to get the shots they need. So now a 4-shot advantage for Team Training Wheels, their first lead of the game. As they both teams now split back off into their lanes, 13s are going to be momentarily coming through for Team Training Wheels, so it should be interesting to see if they're able to leverage that advantage to potentially force a team fight, unlike they had when they had ult advantage for a solid minute. First, now that they have 13s, Confused going to start with Taco Cat onto their Sapper camps. We'll be able to get that uncontested meal on the top lane. Ramen going after Rosai. A lot of damage going through, but Rosai able to retreat behind the gate and start to soul rip his way back to full health. In fact, we'll force for him the back. But in the bot lane, Grizzly and Loxley looking to go in, just again put a ton of pressure onto Ryuken, who has been the target in the fight so far on the side of Into Deep. And they have been pretty successful at just putting a ton of damage and forcing Ryuken to have to be more conservative. However, Ramen's been able to successfully pick up that role. Meanwhile, Rosai, when he comes back, able to pick up the kill onto Ramen in that top lane. And so it looks like they might be a little bit aggressive with Horfire being popped, but nothing to come from it on Into Deep side. So they're just going to back up. Grizzly going to go in the mid lane in order to try to get Soak, as their 13s do now come through. And Rosai going to take this opportunity to be able to take the top Sapper camp. However, Ramen is going to be a little late, but won't make too much of a difference, as probably about like maybe 5 seconds maximum late. Bacon and Loxley pick up their Sapper camp as well in the bot lane. Well, it should be interesting to see if that does make a difference at all. Echo Corruption is finished off here by Loxley, giving a huge power boost potentially in this fight. In the top lane, Rosai trying to sneak the pick, but Ramen back in time in order to stop the channel. Meanwhile, Water Elemental going out onto Loxley. Can they get the dive there? There is no ETC here. So, right, Light Bomb ends up a nice cage, though, saves Loxley's life for now, as he does get stunned. Instead, it's Grizzly who ends up eating it, but now it's Furiosia trying to put some pressure onto both Bacon, and now the attention turns onto Loxley. So Ramen does end up going down, but the trade comes through as both Key and Loxley end up going down. Stim Drone is popped as Grizzly trying to go in, but not able to find the damage onto Confused. Ryuken now very low as Rosai trying to get the finish off, but the leaping straight from Furiosia gonna end up helping finish off Malthael. Ryuken now trying to go into Grizzly and finish off the remaining members Into Deep, but they don't quite have the damage quite yet or the pressure to get through to Bacon. Now here comes Confused along with Ryuken, trying to put some damage onto Grizzly, as both channels do now come through, putting them up to a 12-shot advantage for Team Training Wheels. 16 just a half level away now for Team Training Wheels, so they're going to back up, try to catch the soak in the mid lane, while Ramen puts some pressure in the top lane as well, which will force a response here from Rosai. But Into the Fray, or Into Deep, going to take this opportunity to potentially threaten the siege onto this bot tower, with Loxley trying to put a little bit of poke Gul'dan siege. But now with 16, Ryukin and friends going to start on their own sapper camp. Key thought about it, but immediately gets sighted out from the Wish. So Into Deep going to instead rotate into the mid lane, as wow, Ramen able to go deep in order to get the kill onto Rokai, but Grizzly's now here in order to punish Ramen, as it forced Ramen to go under tower in order to get the kill. So stuck in no man's land for now. Can Ramen get a kill onto anyone else? It is kind of occupying Into Deep in the top lane though, and so not only is Ramen able to get out, but the rotation from Into Deep is too late before Team Training was able to get the valuable bottom for it. So they're also going to be able to pick up the sapper camp and threaten the shots coming through in the spot lane for this next 3 altar phase. So huge play by Ramen there in order to not only get the kill, but also divert the attention that his team need. In fact, Ramen going to go in on the top lane for now, or at least threaten it, as Loxley comes up to help out Rosai in the fight. As in the meanwhile, Taco Cat and Ryukin trying to guard the sappers, but with Fury off to try to get the cap in, they don't necessarily have the manpower quite yet in order to get the initiation they want. Ramen now gets the cap in the top lane to match Into Deep's own cap. And so it was I believe, 7 shot advantage that time around for Team Training Wheels, but they weren't able to escort the sappers in. Now it's time for them to try to defend against the pressure Into Deep's going to put on in order to try to recap their bottom tower. The standard 4-man defense though in currently for Team Training Wheels, so it's just going to be Loxley trying to put out as much safe siege damage as he can on that Gul'dan. If you're just trying to put the pressure on the key, make sure that he doesn't flank around. They always have eyes on him. The initiation trying to go through with the fear, but it doesn't work out. Instead, Light Bomb being put on Ryukin to try to get Loxley, as Ramen does go down the top lane. Danced Mosh does come out on top, kind of confused, but again, no damage to follow up with it. And Blessed Shield going to interrupt and get the kill onto Key. Water Elemental pops to try to finish off Loxley, but they aren't willing to commit in order to go under towers for the kill. But that will be a successful defense for now. Although they're going to lose some XP in the top lane, that they'll take that in order to continue to hold this bot tower. Two altar phase now, with both teams going to be having a tank coming slightly late to fight. Rosai taking the top sapper camp to put, again, more pressure onto this top tower. The gate already down, so this is an option for Into Deep potentially after this next altar phase, if they're able to get the team fight win, to not only take back their altar in the bottom, but, or excuse me, their tower in the bottom, but also take the top tower as well. Ryukin just going to be scouting out as they're willing to trade on the side of Team Training Wheels, as they are already ahead. Not only in amount of shots they're going to get, but also down to 5 for Into Deep. Looks like Team Training Wheels just going to cede over control now of this bot tower in exchange for being able to take the top tower of Into Deep. So now the question is how do you respond if you're on Into Deep? You're down 26-5, and although it is Towers of Doom where comeback is always possible, where do you start it? It looks like they're going to start it with their own sapper camp in order to try to potentially finish off this bot tower. But the rotation from Team Training Wheels is going to start with the siege in the mid lane. Now that they see that Into Deep is going to try to commit potentially to this the bot tower siege, they're going to now rotate down. Can they catch anyone out? Bacon is really far behind on the retreat. It's kind of an awkward fight. Light Bomb ends up catching 3 when it goes on to Ramen, but as Gul'dan will end up going down. Now attention being turned on to Rosai and Grizzly, who are able to back away Grizzly did have stim drone put onto, but Bacon way out of position will end up being finished off there for the 2-for-1 trade. So Team Training Wheels now going to go back to the mid lane in order to resume their siege of this mid tower. Only one altar. And so if Team Training Wheels is able to take this, they have no pressure to defend this top tower, and then they just need to win this bottom altar, which they will have a 5v3 advantage. So it's dire times now for Into Deep. Will they be able to win the 5v3 down 20 as well? Taco Cat immediately going to start the channel. Key having to go really deep in order to make sure that the immediate channel doesn't go through. Will pay with his life. Now it's Grizzly who will have the attention turned on to. Will end up going down as well. So that will be Team Training Wheels taking map number 1 in this series. Oh no, they had a... We're pretty much ahead for most of this game. Other than the first altar phase where they went down, but other than that, consistent wins, and they got the crucial first siege of the game onto the bottom tower. That allowed for them to kind of snowball that into the victory, as is commonplace on towers. But when we look at the stats now, it was Ramen on the Sonya who was actually the biggest damage dealer on Team Training Wheels, as Sonya was called upon in order to be seeking down and being that dive presence onto Morales and the backline assassins of Into Deep. Meanwhile, it was Rozai on the Malthael who not only had the matchup against Ramen and actually got the better of Ramen, I believe 2-1. Just in a 1v1 solo lane fight, straight up. Had the 61k damage. So definitely look out for Rozai back on the Malthael in game number 2, if it's not banned out. But now it will come down to see what Into Deep wants to do. However, I would like to point out that in their last match, the same thing played out where Team Training Wheels won game number 1 on towers and went on to lose the remaining 2 games. So it should be interesting to see if that does continue in this match as well, or if Team Training Wheels is able to revert the trend. It looks like, though, it will be a Volskaya being picked up here by Into Deep. So looks like they want more of a team fight, even as they did have the early advantage in terms of team fight, especially with that early invade that caught Team Training Wheels off guard, it seems like. So it should be interesting if they will be able to out micro in this way, and see what if they have a weird comp like they did last time that will be more suited for Volskaya Foundry. I agree with Mongoose. I do kind of want to see the Probius. I didn't watch the match, so I didn't know how they utilized the Probius. And although Ramen did do a ton of damage and just impact on the Sonya, it makes you wonder how much impact one can make on Probius if you're a good Sonya. So hopefully we'll be able to see it this time around. Teams now entering into the lobby as we get a little bit closer. Interesting enough, Volskaya was also game number 2 for Team Training Wheels last match, in which they lost. They did run Probius, so maybe we'll see that, but meanwhile, Into Deep last match, did not play Volskaya Foundry, so perhaps they did watch the VOD of Team Training Wheels match, have a pre-prepared strategy, which Team Training Wheels does not have the advantage of having. Some other picks, though, that Team Training Wheels went with last time. ETC was their main tank pick, which I assume was because Anubrak was banned out, as they played Anubrak on Tower's last match, as well as Deckard Payne being played. Or at least I hope they were using that skin. As well as the Probius, Sylvanas, and Alarak. But we will be getting right into the draft now for game number 2. Likely going to see some similar bans from last match. I expect to see Nubrak being banned out. Stukov, of course, first banned yet again by Team Training Wheels, wanted denied away from Into Deep. Or at least I expect Into Deep to ban. No, in fact, they're going to go with the Anduin ban. I guess they didn't enjoy having a couple kills being stolen away via the saving pole last match. Meanwhile, Team Training Wheels does not want to go up against Medivh this match either, which I definitely understand. Medivh just a very annoying hero to go up against, and when put in the right hands, very scary hero to be put up against, especially in a coordinated environment like Division A. Meanwhile, Into Deep take a little bit more time for their second ban. Going to go with Anubrak, of course. Didn't want to necessarily target ban anything else from the last match, so it will be the first pick here for Team Training Wheels. Perhaps we see the Sylvanas coming in early, or their main tank yet again being picked up. Instead, it's going to be trying to steal away the Maiev, as it will be Furiosia on the Maiev. I'm sorry that I probably butchered your name. I will just be keeping it to Fur in-game, as I did last match. But now here come the response picks from Into Deep. Now that the Maiev has been taken away from them. Gonna instead go with Thrall Blaze with Rosei on the Blaze, so that will likely be an offlane Blaze. Meanwhile, Loxley on the Thrall this time around. Taco Cat picking up the Ana now. So could potentially see a Nano Boost actually, as Maiev is a very good Nano Boost target in fights, especially in Volskaya where teams are generally more grouped up, so you're able to get a ton of knife resets. And then Ramen gonna be on the Malthael this time around. Doesn't want to be bullied in the solo lane, but unfortunately I believe that means we won't get Probius. Now, something also to note though is that Ramen was not in their last match. Instead it was Porkchop who was playing Probius, so I doubt we will see him this time around now that I see that. But Ramen looking to potentially win the solo lane this time around, especially as Blaze is going to be a very juicy target. Meanwhile, Jaina being denied away by Into Deep with their third ban. Be a very scary combo and another potential nano target if Taco Cat is eyeing Nano Boost instead of Eye of Horus this time around. Meanwhile, Brightwing going to be banned out by Team Training Wheels, which Brightwing not played by them Into Deep before, so don't know where that came from. Maybe they're going Cho'Gall. Very much a potential here. At least that's my hope, that if you ban right wing this late in the draft, you're trying to hide maybe a Cho'Gall pick. But it's going to be Johanna Ario coming. Ario is a support that has been used by Into Deep in the past. And then Johanna to have that point presence now being utilized by Into Deep. So here come the final picks here. Do have main tank and assassin left for Team Training Wheels. I expect potentially Diablo, or they played Murden. Instead, it's going to be Raynor Arthas for Volskaya. So very much a different comp than what they played last match. Last match on Volskaya Foundry. And also last game, I guess. As Junkrat going to be the last pick for Grizzly. Looking to get the kill likely on the Taco Cat with the tires, as well as abuse the fact that Malthael isn't the tankiest of offlaners. So it is very vulnerable to the burst damage from Junkrat. So I think I prefer the comp here of Team Training Wheels yet again, just because I believe they're going to get a ton of value out of the Ana. Ana in either Maiev or Malthael, whoever they decide to nano boost, if they decide to go that route. Or if they don't, there's not a ton of dive pressure that Taco Cat's going to have to be worrying about with the Ana coming out from Into Deep other than Junkrat Tire. So we'll be able to definitely pump in a ton of heals that I believe will be able to make the difference. The only thing that's a question mark for me is the Arthas pickup. I'm guessing that was to synergize with Raynor. But should be interesting to see how it works out for Team Training Wheels. But here we go, game number 2. Trying to keep their match alive. It will be Into Deep. Rosai on the Blaze, Grizzly on the Junkrat, Key on Johanna, Loxley on Thrall, and Bacon on the Ariel. Meanwhile, for Team Training Wheels, looking to close out this match, it will be Ramen on Malthael, Confused on Raynor, Fur on Maiev, Ryukin on the Arthas, and Taco Cat on the Ana. Thumbs up from the Ana Spray as this match will get underway now. Both teams starting out all 5 mid. Although I don't think it is an ARAM match this time around. Ramen going very aggressive onto Loxley. Instead turning focus onto the more beefier Key now. As Ramen does now peel off on the Invisible Horse, which I believe is banned. But if the team's playing out, hopefully not. I don't... Yeah, Invisible Horse, banned mount, I believe, but not for sure certain, so I'll leave it on into the fray, or Into Deep to potentially call it out. Now the rotation coming up from Team Training Wheels, as Key was sent to try to start the soak going in the top lane. Ryukin ends up getting rooted from Loxley, so a lot of damage going out onto the Arthas, as instead it's Ramen who's rotated up now in order to start the soak in the mid lane, and in fact get it pretty much before Ryukin even is able to rotate back. Now it will be Confused, going to start on the fortification camp here on Team Training Wheel side. Meanwhile, Key and Grizzly still rotating back and forth. 3-man from Into Deep with Bacon, Loxley, and Rosai now going to finish up the turret camp. Ramen going in, looking potentially for the invade here with Taco Cat coming with the reinforcement, but the charge goes out onto Ramen. Will he be able to make it out there? It looks like he will barely be able to make it out. Instead, it's Thrall that ends up going down early, as Confused able to get the finishing cap, looking for the finishing damage onto Bacon, as Blaze does go down, not able to find the penetrating round onto Bacon, but that will be the 2 for none and the turret going over to Team Training Wheels to give them an early advantage in this game. Again, an early invade being played out this time by Team Training Wheels, catching Into Deep off guard. So that will allow for them to pretty much kind of run uncontested around the map for now. Grizzly going to try to annoy Team Training Wheels by putting the mine onto the point. But the cap's still going to be able to come through for Team Training Wheels, giving them a 3-0 item lead going into the first point. Meanwhile, they already do have a 1 level lead as well. thanks to that team fight victory, as well as just the camp XP they're getting, as Team Training Wheels starts on their siege camp to time it with the point. Meanwhile, Into Deep looking to get some siege damage actually be put into this mid gate. Ramen being rotating up in order to try to contest it, but he will be able to get bursted down. Nice detainment straight there from Bacon, but not enough damage to kill Ramen, as yet another very close call for the Mouthdale player. Into Deep, though, going to take this opportunity to get onto the point, knowing that Ramen had to back out. However, Key still is in that top lane, so I'd like to see Team Training Wheels to potentially rotate in, knowing that your Mouthdale's back, at least potentially force Into Deep to back up. But now they decided to commit with Blaze in the top lane, dealing with the camp. A nice mine, though, catches out Confused. Can they get the finishing damage? No. The heal's coming through from Taco Cat. Pull onto Key from Fur, but not able to find the damage onto the Johanna. As point progression starting to be accrued now by Team Training Wheels. They do commit the turret a little early here, but that will allow for Into Deep to kind of just sit back now and heal up. Blaze now done clearing the top lane, as 7 talents do come through for Team Training Wheels. So tough spot already early for Into Deep if they do want to try to contest this objective. They are going to send Blaze to try to soak back up that last half level, but I don't think it's going to be in team. Meanwhile, Ramen and Fur going to be taking the turret camp to get yet another item for this potential last fight. Key going to threaten stepping on the point, but going to decide it's not worth it, down 7 in the items. Another turret, though, was used from Team Training Wheels just to scare Into Deep and discourage them from even stepping on the point. Going to start on this mid gate here with 7s picked up, though, from Into Deep. I don't believe they're going to be going for the entire fort. Instead, they're going to just take their time and go up and try to get the top well in order to prep for the next objective phase, as is pretty standard with the first Protector. Protector, though, already pretty low, and the well is not done quite yet. They are going to be able to get the finish, but Taco Cat pretty far forward, getting popped out of the Protector, but able to successfully escape as Confused finishes off the rest of the top gate. We're able to get the pull on the Bacon, but no real follow-up to it, as the pressure now ends up going on to Ryukin. Nice detainment strike there from Bacon, but again, no follow-up from the Assassins to turn it into any kills. Team Training Wheels now actually going to start onto the support camp right away, as they do have Ramen rotating up to the mid lane in case a fight does break out. They will just get the support camp for free, as they do now close in on level 10. Loxley now going to start on the turret camp to make sure they're able to get the fight before ultimate advantage coming through from Team Training Wheels. They try to get the invasion anyways, but turret camp being able to pick up right before Ryukin able to try to get the stall on the camp. Now ultimate's coming through for Team Training Wheels. It will be Warden's Cage again for Maev, Army of the Dead for Arthas, Last Rites for Mouthdale, Nano Boost for Ana, and Rainer's Raider for Rainer. So pretty conventional picks so far, and I do like the choice of Nano Boost over Eye of Horus. Loxley now going to be picking up the Siege Camp on the side of Into the Deep, as with their ult advantage, Team Training Wheels is going to be looking to pick up this top fort now. It's just Key and Loxley defending, so I believe they will be able to get it without a hitch. But ultimates are about to be online for Into Deep, so it should be interesting to see if they're able to get the turn. Rosei getting the charge and able to catch Taco Cat, as in comes the tire, catches Fur, but Fur not yet falling. They do drop a support camp in order to try to keep the backline up. Fur will end up going down to Rosei before dropping the support camp. However, already Bacon very low, and Thrall and a Junkrat already fall as well. Now it's Key who's end up going to be going down. Rosei in trouble, able to drop support camp and make it out for now. Can Confuse get the finishing blow on Bacon? Will not be able to, but still a 3-for-1 trade in favor of Team Training Wheels, in order to give them not only the top fort, but also potentially starting to siege down the mid fort. Instead, they're going to just decide to back up Their turret camp is open, so they are going to be moving towards that now. However, they are just one level away from 13. So Ramen going to be soaking this bottom lane, and they will likely be able to pick up 13 during this control point phase. Not necessarily right at the beginning, but still, that will provide yet another advantage that may prevent Into Deep from capitalizing on and being able to even contest this control point. However, Into Deep going to decide to try to start accruing progress right away. Taco Cat going to try to contest it. That's going to scare off Loxley from contesting any further for now. So they don't want to fight quite yet until Rosai gets back up here. However, now that Rosai is here, might potentially look for an engage. So Team Training Wheels just going to step off the point as they wait for Ramen to try to get the soak in the mid lane in order to get them their 13s. Pyromaniac is finished off by Rosai, but Ramen is looking for the engage now. Ends up getting rooted and stunned as well, but Nano Boost going to be able to keep Ramen up for now, as Bacon will end up going down. Now it's Grizzly who goes down. Bunker ends up going too early, so Key will end up going down to last rights, as well as the remaining members of Into Deep. The problem was for Ryozai was either you don't drop the bunker, and you unfortunately kind of die anyways with the amount of damage that Team Training Wheels was putting down, or you try to put it down in order to save you momentarily, but then Key has to pay the price with the last rights. So that will be now a 2.5 level advantage for Team Training Wheels, as Loxley looking to catch out a very low health Fur. He even going pretty deep looking for the finishing blow, but not able to find it. So that will force Team Training Wheels to have to back off the point for now, as Ramen does start onto the support camp. Remaining members of Team Training Wheels now rotating down, as Grizzly puts the grenade onto the support camp. Rosai actually charging in, almost able to get the cap onto the point. A nice ult there from Throw, able to get the kill onto Maiev. Now Loxley, though, going low, will end up going down, as well as Taco Cat. So it's a 2-for-1 trade so far in favor of Into Deep. Now Ramen very low. Can he get the rip? He will not be able to stay up. So 3-for-1 trade in favor of Into Deep. That might put them on the path of coming back now, as they're able to not only get the support camp, but also start accruing some percentage on the objective. It is pretty far away though, as they're only up to 20%, so Team Training Wheels might get one more opportunity to try to get the cap on the objective. Meanwhile, Confused take this opportunity to take the turret camp on their side. Grizzly and Key, though, are putting so much siege damage through that they're able to get the well and gate in this top lane. Ryukin, though, now rotating back in order to force Grizzly to back up, as the members of Team Training Wheels are back up and starting to rotate towards the objective. Ryukin just gonna go ahead and start putting his presence on the point in case he needs to contest, as Rosai gets a nice charge yet again onto Ramen, as that will end up killing him. Objective was capped during that fight, but now it's Key trying to find the kill onto Confused. A nice charge as well, ends up finding Confused as well as Ryukin, as Ryukin now on the retreat along with the rest of his team. Ryosai cannot find the next charge, so it will just be the one member being picked off, as the focus fire was being put onto Ramen. The nice sundering combo though with the charge too much, as he wasn't able to use Soul Rip in time along with the Nano Boost to survive through the amount of pressure being put onto Ramen. Protector though now down with the mid fort, looking to get the, or excuse me, the top fort, looking to get the mid fort. As down to 15% already, it looks like it will be able to finish it off, as well as the remaining tower in this mid lane. However, Ramen is not positioned well, as he got an aggressive Soul Rip. Blessed Shield is committed from Key. Damage going out to Ryukin and Ramen, but Key, the one on the retreat. Now it's Bacon, who's very low. End up barely getting the heal in time, as Loxley forced you Sundering just in order to make sure that the remaining members able to retreat. Ramen did have Nano Boost popped pretty late onto him, or used onto him pretty late from Taco Cat, so that will not be another tool at their disposal. but they're going to take this time to be able to get the invade onto Into Deep's turret camp. He, though, aggressively positioned as Rosai looking to potentially get a charge in here from the retreating members of Team Training Wheels now that Into Deep has 16. Instead, though, both teams just going to go back to laning, though, with Team Training Wheels looking to get closer to 20 and see if they can achieve it before the next objective phase. Instead, they're going to be looking for the support camp in the top lane. Rosai being forced to rotate all the way back up from the bot lane, but will be here in time for a fight. He going in immediately, though. Ramen in the bush in order to get him. In comes the Warden's Cage, though, onto Rosai, who has to pop Bunker in order to potentially stay alive. As now Key ends up going very low, and again Nano Boost ends up going to Ramen, but it is the trap that forces Ramen to stay in place and not further pursue the very low main tanks of Into Deep. But they are able to get the support camp on the side of Team Training Wheel, so overall a win, I would say, despite the ults committed on both sides. Now they're going to be looking for their turret camp. However, Into Deep not looking to see that too well. A nice detainment strike ends up catching out Ramen, but can he survive through it? He has been able to, as Thrall, not so lucky, will end up going down as well as Junkrat. Now it will be Ariel and Key going down as a 4-for-1 trade, as the focus fire onto Ramen not able to turn to kill. Just enough healing coming through from Taco Cat and also the self-healing, able to allow for Ramen to live and the remaining members of Into Deep to die. Well, now taken down in the bot lane as well as the fort, giving Team Training Wheels, if they're able to get this next objective, a lane not only to the keep, but potentially the end of the game. Now they're going to go back to their turret camp they left in the middle of that fight in order to get a huge item advantage for this next control point phase. Excuse me, I now noticed that they did use their support camp, so it will just be the turret for Team Training Wheels. So it's not a huge item advantage, but definitely one they have, as well as the siege camp being picked up there by Ramen. They are going to pick up Into the Deep's turret camp as well before this next objective phase. But with Rainer on the point, Into the Deep going to decide to go in now, as damage being put onto Ramen again as the focus fire, but Nano Boost does come through in order to allow for Ramen to live. Now it is Arthas who ends up going down, as well as Maiev. However, the trade ends up going on to Ario as well as Thrall. Now Ramen end up very low, will go down to Key, I believe. Grizzly trying to get the chase in order to get the finishing blow on a Taco Cat. Just a couple grenades away. The auto attack will be able to finish him off. Confused also will go down. So that is a 5-for-1 trade. Ramen able to come back into the fight, and is in fact looking for the kill onto Key. Can he get the rip in time? Shirt is committed there, but a nice grenade from Grizzly will not save Key's life. Ramen looking to turn around this 3v1 on his own. Grizzly now going very low, will get his soul ripped as Ramen able to get the 3-for-1 win. Sure, he had his 20s, but still a huge fight win in order to keep Team Training Wheels in the driver's seat for this match. Not only that, but they Rosai had to back in order to deal with the siege camp that was in the top lane from Team Training Wheels that was able to get the top gate as well as about half of this top keep. Well, Ramen just trying to stay as far away from the turret as he can, as with 45% and still 26 seconds till Junkrat comes back, I don't think Into Deep will be able to get a contest. So they will be looking for the support camp instead in order to help with their defense of their keep and potentially core. We'll be able to pick up the support camp uncontested, while Team Training Wheels just waits for the 100% to be obtained and the protector to drop. Will be Taco Cat as well as Ryukin in the protector, but Ramen has enough self-sustained and he's been the focus that I don't think you're too concerned on the side of Team Training Wheels that you do have your Ana in the protector. As the gate gonna immediately be the focus of the protector, able to get the turret down. However, Taco Cat is actually grenaded over the wall, came out in order to get some heals, but will end up going down. Now it's Fur who has to be very careful. The Junkrat Tire able to put enough damage to get the kill. Loxley able to get the Shield of Hope from Bacon in order to keep him up for now, as Ramen trying to do the damage in the backline. Bacon will not fall to last rites, but will be soul ripped away. But Ramen will pay for it with his life. That is enough. The 3-for-1 trade is good enough so where they're going to be able to definitely defend their core and actually be able to defend their bot keep as well. A huge win for Into Deep, as now a lot of pressure going to be put on this protector and its members inside, as Confused already very low. A nice charge there from Rosai, going to finish off Confused. Now it's Ryukin forced to pop Armory of the Dead just to try to stay alive, but will still end up going down. Into Deep going to take this opportunity to take the Team Training Wheels turret camp, and I believe get their first item advantage of the game. And now they're going to look to Siege. Where will they go in order to utilize their 2-man advantage for now? They're instead going to look for the Siege camps, not willing to look for any fort or keep with how pushed out the lanes are. Fur's going to go ahead and watch them, but with the 3 members, they're not going to be able to go in. As Grizzly also going to take this opportunity to take the turret camp in the bot lane. As now the members wait around the support camp to get yet another item. Minions able to do a little bit of damage here in the top lane, as Loxley going to turn on the Into Deep's Siege camp now in the top lane. But honestly, if you're Team Training Wheels, you kind of take it. Sure, you have a huge disadvantage for the upcoming protector fight, or I guess control point fight, but it's not like you lost a keep potentially, and you're still up in structures despite getting wiped in that last fight. Into Deep gonna possession around the support camp, which Team Training Wheels is not going to just give up for free. As Ryukin actually going very deep, a little bit away from his team, but not necessarily punished from Into Deep. It's Confused and Ramen going to start on the support camp now. Ryukin parking himself on the point, but not able to get grenaded off of it quite yet. A lot of damage actually going on to Ryukin, will end up being the first casualty of this fight. Now it's Warden's Cage being popped, able to pull in Bacon. The tower come out from Grizzly. They try to kill Ramen, but Ramen with the nano boost able to stay up a little bit, will end up being able to go down though, as they aren't able to keep the support camp, and they do use all of their items, but still another team fight victory for Into Deep. Oh, it looks like Ramen might be cut out here, as he was able to come back to life with his talents, but will still be killed. Ramen, you can't win. Sure, you can win a 3v1, but you can't win a 5v1. With Mouthtail now down for 70 seconds. Into Deep gonna take this opportunity to try to challenge and threaten this top keep. Fur has to be careful. Will end up being able to get healed up though from Taco Cat, as Into Deep will be able to take down this keep. Will they potentially push for more though? It looks like they will be going for core here. Arthas will be back up for the defense, but it will be a 5v4 defense here for the foreseeable future. A nice root ends up hitting 3 from Ryukin. Grizzly will be forced to back up here. The Sundering does hit 3 members, but can they get the kill? Ario will end up going down. Loxley now has to be careful. Will be trying to get the kill on the Taco Cat, or Confused, but nice sleep dart from Taco Cat will be able to keep him up. First side going deep, looking for the kill on the key. Will end up finding it. So now it's Grizzly and Rosai in trouble. Will be able to retreat as Fur not trying to push the issue too much, especially now with the catapults on the core of Into Deep. Will Team Training Wheels decide to go for the objective or just go for the win right away? Looks like they're going to play it safe though, with them still waiting for Ramen to come back and decide to just take the protector as well as the 2 turret camps on the map. Meanwhile, Ramen gonna go ahead and clear in this top lane, make sure that the turrets don't backdoor core for Into Deep while they win or go for the win with the protector. He's still down, though, for 20 more seconds. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get the re-engage full 5v5 refight. What's interesting to me, though, is that Storm Shield was picked up there from Key instead of the normal level 20 talent to give you that gigantic shield when you are about to die. As the Protector will be picked up here from Team Training Wheels. Guess wanted more just overall team shielding, as Key has been the focus in fight so far, despite going up against Ramen's ferocious, always hungry Mouthdale. Key, though, going to try to push the issue on a Confused, along with their main members of In Too Deep, but can they get the kill? Ramen and Confused able to rotate back around and stay alive for now. However, the Tire able to get the kill. No, Ramen will stay alive. Instead, it will be Thrall who ends up going down. Now Bacon in a lot of trouble, able to get the heal in time, but can Key stay up? No, will end up going down. Bacon able to get the kill before, or heal before Last Right's able to get the kill, but now it's Blaze and Bacon's going down after all. Only end up losing Fur on the side of Team Training Wheels. So although they are pretty low, they should be able to get the core with just Grizzly up. Grizzly looking for the kill potentially onto Ryukin. But the Ripper Air takes him way past his target. As that Protector still with its 25% health, as well as Ryukin and Ramen, gonna be able to easily destroy core and give Team Training Wheels the 2-0 domination in this match. So overall, In Too Deep almost able to find the comeback there with a couple late team fight wins, but the last team fight able to be won with their core defense from Team Training Wheels that they were able to turn around into the win. Now when we look at the post-game stats, it was Ramen's Mouthdale leading in literally every category. And yes, that does include deaths. Coming in with 10 kills, 6 deaths, 204k siege damage, 134k hero damage to Grizzly's very respectable 116k damage. As he was the target of fights, ended up taking more than Key on the Johanna did, and able to heal more than Taco Cat's Ana was able to provide. However, Bacon did get the best of him in that category, coming through with 91k and able to get some clutch heals, but in the end it was not enough. So now we'll look to see if we can get the captain, Taco Cat, or any other member on in order for an interview, in order to talk through the process in not only this match, but potentially the NGS season at whole. But definitely a very exciting series, I'd say. Even though Team Training Wheels was in the driver's seat for the first match, it wasn't like they were too far ahead until they were able to get that bot tower. And then in this second match, it appeared that Team Training Wheels was in the driver's seat, not only being able to win the first 3 protectors, but also being pretty dominant throughout, but almost overstepped their advantage. So it will be Taco Cat who will be coming in to talk about this match. Hello, Taco Cat. Congrats on your victory.
Thank you. It was a hell of a game. It was pretty crazy, that last one.
Oh, very much. So, first of all, though, we gotta take it back to Towers of Doom. You guys were kind of in the driver's seat for most of that match. However, early on, you were caught there taking your siege camp from the sappers. Why do you think In Too Deep was able to get that early invade onto your sapper camp?
I expected it. That was the call was to try and get it. And I would like to have gotten it early, but with the Mouthdale double rotate and Pale Horse, if we got it, it would have been great. and then if they got it, they're most likely going to invade it anyways, and there's nothing we could do about it. So that's why we call it the disengage. That's why I try just to let him have it, and then yeah, it's just, and then there was that one sapper that randomly followed confused randomly. I didn't even know they did that, but then hey, you can kite sappers around the other side. Who knew? Yeah, so that's pretty much that. For that map, just because once again, the same thing with globals. I always expect with Melthael, kind of the same thing. I always expect to lose that first one, and then we kind of let them start taking it. Just to get them up and kind of confident, and then so when they start taking it, we then basically predict them taking it, and we call for the rotate. We then once again get them out of position and take it from them, which you saw in the mid game.
Yeah, you definitely were able to bring it back there in the mid game, despite losing the first alter phase. You're able to bring it back and kind of start to be in the driver's seat. What was kind of your overall strategy in order to slowly kind of get that advantage in tower shots throughout the different mid game alter phases?
So basically, our goal is to get a lot of pressure bot, if possible. As per always, how we usually play the map. We knew they had rotational advantage, so we always had Fury mid. Basically, calling rotations made it so that their 4-man rotation had no value for their gank, which allowed us to push up a little bit, do little things, and it's mostly also calling for them when they're out of place. When they rotated mid, they left Morales in the behind with 3 of us behind them, and that's when the entire game you could see switched, is when they went to rotate and do a gank mid, and we caught them from behind. We basically shredded. And then there was obviously give a little shout out to Ramen being a god. I don't know if you saw him top fort, basically 4v1ing them after he got the Melthael pick. He's always basically able. I can trust him in off lane, and he does crazy things. And because he was able to hold them there that long, we were able to take bottom fort and secure that for the rest of the game, which is I think probably the most pivotal point of securing that game. I don't think there's much as long as we play it right, there's not much they can do to take that back with the draft they had.
Well, speaking of the Morales, though, was there any more strategy in order to counter that pick beyond just your rotations?
Spread it out. Keep it really spread. Don't focus one target too long because Morales excels on that. Basically, we wanted to switch up as soon as Morales basically switched. Keep it spread, and then get them a little bit low. So Sonya comes in and basically does her thing right into the back line. Then they usually focus Sonya. We just shred once again when Morales starts panicking. And that was pretty much the gameplay for that because Sonya's pretty much our best dive with that comp. Other than Maiev, actually that wasn't Maiev. They're Maiev actually also. I really like the route into Maiev for that because it also negates a lot of dive for their Maiev with Anduin. I think it's really denies a lot of her ability to do full on ganks. We also have a lot of practice with we've been doing a lot of light bomb, so our light bomb CC is pretty key within securing kills too. Sonya's really good with light bomb, so I really like that. Especially when you give her a shield, she just the little extra always helps. Not to mention the recent Sonya buff was nice.
And then coming into game number 2, the one thing we have to talk about is, first of all, Ramen's Malthael. Did you kind of just give him the green light in fights? What was your strategy to playing around him on the Malthael?
So basically, first thing, we wanted to deny them the pick of Malthael because their offlaner is a Malthael main. So we wanted to take that from right off the bat. And as how we run the comp is I can die as Ana. My whole goal is basically get the nano boost and the cage, as long as because usually he's a little bit far in, so I have to run right into him to get the nano boost off. So that way, once the cage everything's happened, then I have to try and disengage after. So I'm a little bit of a sacrificial lamb as Ana for that, just because how we run the Ana Melt, which is fine. I also switched up. I don't know if you saw it to Nightmare and also Debilitating Dart. Just because of the new Ana changes, which has been interesting. You actually can Debilitating Dart the Trigloff Protector and to knock off 50% of its damage, so it's pretty handy for that. Yeah, super neat. Yeah, basically for the dive though, yeah, just basically get Meltha in their team, and then hopefully they don't CC him to death. And if they do, unfortunate. But that's basically why we started switching. We changed our strat halfway through, basically allowing Arthas to kind of go into and soak up a few of the stuns first, and then once again throw Malthael in there so that he can just do his thing. We saw them once again with their CC, and that CC chain negated a couple of our nanos. So that was pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole idea. Basically, and as soon as he has his touch on any one of them, I basically try and nano them so he can get in. But that's once again, we try and play it safe. We didn't try to dive super overly hard a lot of their times, and we just kind of like once again try to play the map very macro like, invade their camp as much as possible, take as many turrets as possible. We could basically focus on point. If we try, we always once again if we're down, if we're ever down a talent tier, we always try to soak that up and then once again fight them up talent tier. And they did a great job coming back. We made a few obviously late game errors. That really nice Junkrat mine was insane. Like usually what we do, and I was not expecting it, is I just jump out of the protector for half a second, press R, get back in. But Junkrat just mined me right into the enemy team. It was beautiful. It was a really well played. I honestly did not expect that at all. It was great.
Well, I want to touch on something you talked about. You guys were really aggressive on camps in game number 2. Was that a response to the aggressiveness from Into Deep in game number 1, or was that just your plan kind of coming in?
No, it's our comp. It's our comp into their comp. Our comp was way better at, in my opinion, with the nano boost in those choke points. With our wombo combo, we want them to force them into those little narrow areas and then cage them all in and then nano boost the hell out of them. Well, everyone else does their thing. That was pretty much the whole goal of that, is to force the fights there because that's where we excel. We get the most amount of people in those cages and just shred the hell out of them with a nano boost and Malthael. So that's why we did it that way. Just for also map specific and also comp specific.
And then, as you kind of mentioned, they had the comeback there at the end once you had your third protector, able to defend against it to save their keep, and then that kind of turned the tides around. What did your team do in order to take control of the match back?
We lulled really hard. We basically focused on basically making sure we're not staggering decks, and then we still did it. They caught Malthael at the very end there. I think they could have actually had us if they didn't call for the end there. I think we actually would have lost probably with the Triglove and William pressure and us being able to have to split if they kept constantly pressure top. I think it could have been game, but luckily for us, we got our combo off near our keep when they tried to end, and I think we know what happens from there. Yeah, so that was just we just kept her cool. And then, we just knew that if they're trying to end there, they couldn't end. So we just went as ham as humanly possible. And it was GG at that point. Just grab turrets and go. They did play a really good play there, trying to go for Confuse at the back. But we saw it. Luckily, our tank, Ryu, shout out to you, called it, and we turned as soon as possible just to counter them. Because Triglove Protector does a ton of damage at that point of the game.
And then my last question for you today is any shout-outs you have with your victory?
Yeah, shout out to you, Lad. Thank you for casting us. You're an amazing caster. Always love watching you. You sub this man. This man is amazing, and this man deserves more. Also, shout out to my whole team for practicing. I love you all. Thank you so much for being so committed. I honestly, I just love how much passion all of you have, and I'm so glad we finally brought this team together after so long. That's Fury. That's Ting. That's Confused. And Prey, shout out to you. I wish you were there for this game, but it's okay. Next time, brother. Next time. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Mongoose and everybody at NGS. Once again, help facilitate this. You guys are amazing. Honestly, thank you so much. This is a huge part of my life, and I don't know what I do without this. It's absolutely amazing. It's such a great thing. And I'd also like to give a shout out to our coaches. Psycho, you're a great Psycho. Thank you so much for the replay reviews. You're a guy. Thank you so much for critically analyzing everything and taking us to that next level. Shout out to Mickelin also for also helping us out time and time again, giving us the support and the individual coaching that we need to basically step up our level to the next game. And thank you also for all our previous TTW members. There's been a lot of us. We've been through thick and thin together. And thank you for, once again, sticking with us. Even though we may not be the team anymore, you'll always be part of our team. You'll always be part of TTW.
Well, thank you, Taco, so much for the interview, and good luck to you guys later on in the season.
Thank you so much. And hope you have a great night. GG's.
Well, and with that, that will be tonight for me. Now, later up on the Div A docket, we will have Murda casting Regen Retro versus Rewind, as well as Bahamut casting Gilly Shark versus Few Loose Screws. That's at 9 Central. That's my time zone, so 8 Eastern, 11, nope, wrong way, 10 Eastern, and 7 Pacific. And then Meanwhile, concerning me, tomorrow I have a Div C doubleheader. Back to Div C, cast starting at 7:30 with Regen Anomaly versus Lubu. So if you're around tomorrow, make sure to catch that. And meanwhile, for those who are remaining, I will be rating the wonderful Ziltoid, who is casting currently the only NGS match that's on. So if you want to continue to watch some NGS action, whether you're waiting for further Div A action or later, he is casting a Reborn Knights Black versus Beast Coast and Div B East. Two undefeated teams, so definitely should be an exciting match. But anyways, that will be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck, have fun. I'll see you in the Nexus.